Welcome back, beautiful people. It's Inside the Trenches. I'm your host, Marlon Big Favorite. We're here with ESPN New Orleans 100.3 FM. And look, check this out. It's going down here in New Orleans, baby. We're at the second annual, if I'm not mistaken, Nola Musicon. Really great event. I was joined by some great panelists, and that's not going to stop here with my next guest, right? We're going to keep this party going. My next guest is way of the Big Apple to the Big Easy, baby. That is right. She is from New York City, has been down here in New Orleans for a while, worked in the NBA with the Pelicans, and she has a company called Catch 504 Booking. My next guest is none other than Jess Weinbergg. Jess, thank you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah.
Excited to be here.
So before we get into the MusicCon and all the stuff, the booking, why leave New York City and come to New Orleans? You leave the big time market and come to us old country folk down here, which we appreciate it.
Yeah, so I went to college in Indiana. So I went from New York to IU. I was on the rowing team at Indiana. So I'd always been a sports background person. I was a sports marketing major at Indiana. And I got a call the day I was moving out of my apartment that I had gotten a job with the New Orleans Saints and Pelicans as an intern. And so I had 5 days to pack up everything that I owned and move down here. And I haven't looked back. So I've been down here 4 years now, which is crazy. I worked with the two teams for 3 seasons, and now the last 6 months I've been running my own business.
I think that's pretty cool. It's the story of take your shot, take the risk, and then things work out well. And to say, you've been a part of the Pelicans and now you're doing your own booking, you have the personality for it as well. My question to you, okay, you go to IU. I didn't know you were an athlete. You kind of hit that one from me. So rowing, you're definitely strong for sure, because I had my fair share of rowing a little bit, and I bench a lot of pounds. So I know the workout regimen for that was insane.
Yeah, no, it wasn't easy. I had actually wasn't a rower my entire life. I was a 3-sport athlete leading up to my junior year of high school, and I transferred high schools. And when you transfer back in New York from I was within the Catholic school system. So when you transfer in, junior year is the main year you get recruited. So they say, hey, you can't transfer to our school just for recruiting purposes. So you either have to take a year off of your sport or you find a new one. And I had done a rowing camp in 5th grade. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to try rowing. And I started rowing my junior year. And by senior year, I had offers from 20 different colleges. And I was down to 2 D1 offers between UMass Amherst and Indiana. Mm-hmm. And there was just something about the Midwest campus and the culture. My entire family had left New York to go to the Midwest for college. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to follow suit. I'm going to also go to the Midwest. Went to IU, was rowing for my first year. And then, COVID and everything happened. So things got a little crazy. But yeah, the workouts are no joke. We were in the weight room 3-4 times a week. We were running stadiums 2 times a week. But the worst part about it is your workouts start at 5 a.m. because you need to be on the water before all the boats get out there. So you really have to be out and rowing early in the morning in order to avoid and make sure it's safe as possible for you and other boaters.
I think that's pretty cool because, listen, for us, we did that 5 o'clock stuff for a month, and that was it. We didn't do any more training like that with football, and that was at LSU. So I find that very interesting that you guys train like that, and what a unique sport to be a part of. Now, I played for the Colts for a short stint. How far is IU from Indianapolis?
So we're an hour south. So we're basically on the Kentucky-Indiana border.
Okay, are y'all close now in relation to South Bend, Notre Dame?
Mm-mm. That's all the way up.
Oh, so they passed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's so funny because Notre Dame is, known for being cold and there's a lot of snow and things like that. We never had snow in my time in Indiana.
Wow,
at IU.
That's crazy.
Because we were so close to being, in the South, basically, right, that the coldest day we ever got was 30 degrees.
I think that's pretty cool. I want to switch over to a very interesting subject. Me personally have been trying to find the right person for me for this for the longest. Booking, right? I've been doing my booking for myself for a long time. You have a company that actually books artists and special appearances for people. Catch 504 Booking. Talk to us about that organization or that company.
Yeah, so the Catch is actually a rowing term. which does double very nicely when I'm doing promotion. I'm like, catch our talent this week at this place. So like it really does double. But I was sitting down when I was starting to form my company. I quit my job in corporate America in end of January, early February, right around Mardi Gras time. Went home back to New York for 2 weeks, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I really want to go into music. Came back and I was talking to some people, and I was like, what do you guys need? Because the one thing, I'm a big like Shark Tank watcher, and the one thing I learned from Mr. Wonderful is the easiest way to have a successful business is to fill a need that somebody isn't already filling, because you're always going to be successful if there's a gap. So I was starting to talk to the talent that I worked with, and I mean, we had booked over 300 artists at the Pelicans. So I had a wide range of people that I was like running these ideas by, and it started with do you have a job opening? What does this look like for you? Do you need help? And everyone was like, we need booking. We need infrastructure for booking here in the city. And I was like, well, if you really look at what I was doing at the Pelicans, I was doing the venue booking side of things for 3 years. So I was like, okay, I love to network. I tell people I can talk to a brick wall, and I mean it. Like I could genuinely have a conversation with myself if I'm allowed to and not look crazy. And so I just decided, okay, I'm going to open a booking agency, and I'm going to be that infrastructure. My background is in marketing, so I have a lot of fun with website design and EPK building and color theory and things like that, and like building a brand. My whole family is a family of entrepreneurs. They all own their own businesses. My aunt owns an interior design company. My mom's a financial advisor. So like I've learned bits and pieces of running a company just through my family. And like I credit a lot of my confidence to just do this out of nowhere to them. But yeah, I mean, we work with over 40 artists in the city, and we're helping really start from the ground up and create these lasting brands. So even when I'm maybe not in the picture with them anymore, and they grow to be these huge stars, they have that solid infrastructure behind them to have the brand that sells itself.
And it's important. You said something that I think is key, and it's really been my motto: fulfilling a need. Right? I think a lot of people sometimes have a passion for what they want to do as opposed to finding a need. There is riches in the niches, and if you can find a niche market that is big. If y'all are just tuning in to Inside the Trenches, I'm joined by my girl, Jess Weinbergg. Y'all be sure to follow her on Instagram at Catch504Booking. Sports and music. I want to talk about that with you because we have a panel coming up at the Musicon
in just an hour.
Yeah, in just an hour. What do you know, right? And my stomach is growling. Okay, 2 hours, we can wait. But I like that subject because sports and entertainment, in my opinion, has always been a thing. Yeah. It's always been a part of my life. I thank God for entities like ESPN New Orleans, LSU Sports Radio, because they accept me for who I am. He's a guy he's going to drop an album, but he's going to talk about the Saints and LSU as well. Mm-hmm. When you look at that, and I look forward to our guest room and the folks that are going to come in. When you look at that music and the sports, for the fans, it's almost the same thing. They're being entertained.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I remember like my childhood and growing, to the Rangers and Knicks games, and the Knicks is still iconic in the fact that we have an organ player, like they really, like it really still is. But if you think about it in that way, like there's always been an aspect of music involved in every sporting event because it's not just quiet when it's a timeout. Like you're listening to something, whether it's somebody's hit song or somebody's performance, like there's always been that tie. And I think that was the best part of what I got to do at the Pelicans was I fell in love with the music of the city. And what started as just an impromptu idea my first season, and it was our playoff run against the Suns. I talked to my boss, and I was like, what if we bring in a Zydeco band and we make that live dance cam? And so we brought him in, and they were playing between timeouts, and it turned into this huge thing where the season after we booked, out of the 42 home games, there was 30 in-game performances, what we started to call them. So then we had New Orleans musicians coming down the aisle of a timeout of an NBA game performing their original music.
That's tight. I think that's pretty cool.
And so it's like giving exposure back to the people who deserve it most in New Orleans. Like it was very rare that we called on people that were outside of New Orleans, which made it that much more special because we're looking and we're saying, here's where you can see these people in the city. And then that gives exposure then to the venues that are hosting them. It gives back to these people and their shows and buying tickets and creating this fandom. Like, in a way, it is sort of like a festival where you go to a festival and you never know who you're going to see. Is a sporting event the ideal venue for where you think you're going to just see somebody running down the staircase performing their music? No, but it's in a moment where you're waiting on that timeout to finish and you're really hyped up, you're really amped up, or you're like frustrated at the game, because that's just a fact of like, we would always say in game experience, which is the department I worked in, we can't control the outcome of the game. We can't control what's happening on the field. But we know how much of an impact when the fans are having a good time, that redirects the energy in the room and in the stadium. And I use this example all the time. I will never forget when we played OKC for the play-in game, not this past season, but the season prior. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it was a loss. But fourth quarter, we brought out Roscoe Dash to do no hands.
Oh, that was pretty cool.
And it was a just timeout. The Pels had gone on a run, and the opposing team called a timeout. And so that energy automatically when the other team is like, damn, like, and they call the timeout. And all of a sudden you start hearing No Hands, and people know that song well enough to be like, oh my God, it's No Hands. You look to your left and it's Roscoe Dash coming down the stairs. And everyone was like, and so they're like running in the aisle to like hold their jersey up. And it was just one of those moments where like everyone was wearing red. We were all Pelicans fans in that moment. It didn't matter who you were, where you were from, what part of the city. Like You were a Pelicans fan in that moment. And to sit back and be like, I helped curate that moment. That's the most rewarding part of my job.
And that ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about the fans. These are the folks that are buying suites. They're buying regular, season tickets to come and support the team. And when they come, especially if the team's not doing well, man, at least I got entertained by the band. I saw Roscoe Dash, so that's huge. Well, I look forward to doing this panel with you.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We're going to have some fun.
2:30.
2:30. We can't wait. And look, y'all can definitely, I know y'all get this information, might be in the next couple hours, might be in a few days, but we will be here till Wednesday this week, October 30th. I will be performing live at Cafe Instable at 10. Well, I think the show starts at 8, so y'all come check out some of the music. And, because of this girl here, I'll probably perform a little more. It's Inside the Trenches right here on ESPN New Orleans, baby. Nola Musicon. We'll be back. Hello.